And I know I could tell you anything. You won't judge, you'll just listen then. 'Cause you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. 'Cause my darling, you and I could take over the world, one step at a time, just you and I. And you're the only one who brings light just like the sun, one step at a time, just you and I.
All right, happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee with your host, Rick Alexander. Today I want to talk to you about some relationship theory, romantic relationships as well as platonic and professional relationships, because the reality is that you're in a relationship with every single person in your life, one way or another. And there are certain rules that can be applied to relationships, and it doesn't really matter if they're romantic or platonic or professional. Your life is, in essence, a series of subject-object relationships. You are the subject, and different things and different people are going to float into your awareness and into your consciousness, and as they do, they object to reality. That's what makes them an object. And so love in this lifetime is a subject-object relationship. And so really, it's about how do you manage that subject-object relationship. So I've done some different things about love and here on this show, and I'm not going to actually talk about that, some of the broader aspects associated with love and the ultimate reality. But what I do want to say to you today is that every relationship in the world is going somewhere. It is a moving, dynamic thing. There's never a relationship that stands still. And if you believe that there is, just think to the times where you have kind of become static in a relationship. The spirit in that thing leaves pretty damn quick. Because the reality is that relationships are something that are meant to go somewhere, right? It's meant to get you somewhere. It's meant to get the other person somewhere. Hopefully it fosters both of your growth and it becomes something that's mutually beneficial. But when we try to keep a relationship in one place and we try to keep it static, it tends to lose the spirit pretty quickly, and it tends to be something that both parties could either take or leave. A lot of times what we do is we fall into that static form of relationship where we're not authoring energy into it to get it where we want to go. And when that happens, sometimes the other person will leave, and then we'll think like, well, fuck, we definitely screwed that up because we should have been authoring energy into that relationship the entire time. So that's the first thing to know. And the first thing that I would say to you to ask yourself today is scan your life and your relationships and ask yourself, where are they going? And then further, are they going somewhere that I actually want to be? Because that can be the case as well. There's a lot of relationships that are not serving your growth. And I'm going to be honest with you, with 7 billion people on the planet, there's no reason to pine over the one that is hellbent on keeping you where you're at so that you don't outgrow them. And that leads me into the second part of today's talk, which is, what is the role that you play in the relationships in your life? Chances are you play multiple roles in multiple relationships, because we can all sort of wear different hats as we're moving through this life. But the thing to think about is there are essentially 3 roles in a relationship. One is the tyrant, the second is the slave, and then the third is the negotiator. Now, you kind of have to ask yourself, what do you want to be? Because if you don't ask yourself what you want to be, what you're going to show up as might not excite you too much. Because a lot of times what happens is we're insecure about perhaps somebody outgrowing us or somebody leaving us or something like that. And so we feel like we either have to be the tyrant to keep them where they're at, or we feel like maybe they're the tyrant, and so we're happy to be the slave because we would rather have that person in our life than not at all. But again, 7 billion people on the planet, there's not one that's worth pining over, I promise you. And so the other thing to think about in terms of relationship theory and in terms of the role that you play, sometimes we get so worked up in what's going on with our ego and with our insecurities, and these people are sort of, especially relationships that are close to us, they know the buttons to push that are going to get you spun up. They know how to make you angry in a certain way. And so a lot of times when this is happening and we're going through our lives mindlessly, we tend to take on the tyrant or the slave, because the truth is that the negotiator is the most difficult role you could take on. to start to talk to somebody to foster and support their growth, have them foster and support your growth, and then to negotiate so that that relationship is mutually beneficial takes a lot of work. And honestly, I've looked around and realized people just quite honestly aren't up to the task of that. And then, of course, usually that happens as they start to lose relationships that do matter to them. Then people typically start to look back and realize where they went wrong and what they could have done differently. And so the second thing for you to ask yourself today is, what role am I playing in the different relationships in my life? You know, one of the things that I can tell you is, in this life, if you find that you're not getting the results you want, a lot of times you're going about it mindlessly. It's when you become mindful of the thing, so you give that thing your attention, that you can actually act in a way that will allow you to get the result that you're looking for. But again, are you the slave? Are you the tyrant? Or are you the negotiator? Every single relationship that you are in is going somewhere. A lot of times we become the tyrant or we become the slave because we're scared that that person is going to outgrow us or they're going to leave. But there's an inalienable truth about this life, and that is you will never lose something that is meant to stay, and vice versa, you will never keep something that should be somewhere else. You can damper it, you can keep it static for a while. You've probably seen it in your own life, right? Like, you can keep yourself from growing for quite a while, but it's like we all reach to this point where the universe just kind of starts getting what it wants, right? Like, you kind of get ushered into certain situations. And I've talked about this in the past with dealing with adversity and things that don't work out. Like, sometimes if we're not paying attention or we're clinging on to something too hard, the universe will come and it'll tear it away from us because it wasn't meant for you. It never was. Like, maybe it served a role in your life. Maybe it got you here, and it's not going to get you there. And the more we hold on and cling to these things that aren't meant for us, the more we slip into the role of the tyrant or the slave, the more we try to control things. And, you know, that's kind of popped out as a theme from the last few weeks, which is like, you really can't control anything in this life besides yourself. But just recognizing that you'll never actually lose something that's meant to be yours or meant to stay in your life. You know, and I can understand we lean too hard into our egos. We lean too hard into our humanity. And it does cause you to want to cling on to things and to hold things and to get fearful because you don't want to end up alone. But the truth is that that's really just not how this life thing works. Like, there's a expression of you that the universe is going to continue to usher you toward. There's really no reason to live a smaller life because you're scared of building new relationships and getting new people into your economy. And then the only other thing that I do really want to mention, I've talked a lot about moving on and how to move on and thinking of your life in terms of sort of always setting your aim on something so that you don't remain too static in that, so that you don't sort of find yourself at the mercy of a shifting life below you. But the other thing that I wanted to mention about relationships is you can think back on your lives, and sometimes we think back like, why did I waste so much time with that person, or why was I so into that person? Because looking at them now, I'm not even sure what I was thinking about. And I am talking in terms of romantic relationships about this specifically, but this advice is definitely could be widely applicable. And I would just say this. I've thought about this every angle I possibly could. The only acceptable angle to think back about the relationships that are past in your life is one with gratitude. And honestly, it's not even something that you need to force because they truly did something for you. They've taught you lessons. They've helped make you the person that you are now. So they played a role in you becoming the fullest expression of yourself, even if that role seemed negative at the time. And so I just want to end with those couple questions for you as you go into the weekend, as you think about it. You know, you're not going to lose something that's meant to be yours. So foster the growth. Try to enter into relationships that are mutually beneficial for both of you. Assume the role of the negotiator, even if it's exhausting, because as you do, you're going to understand there's a lot more to this life thing than pining and sitting around thinking about people that aren't thinking about you. I hope you guys have an incredible weekend. I'll talk to you Monday on Morning Coffee.
I don't need to hear that you love me, but when you're ready, I'll say the same. Cause ever since I saw you at the corner of my eye, I swear that I can't seem to ever look away. Don't you wanna want want me the way I want you. Got a little time, so why don't you come through? We don't play games, not the way that some do. We just got the night, cause we know it's young too. And she don't want no diamond ring, cause she knows that I'll never leave. And I got all I want right here, cause every day I see the world in your eyes. I know every little thing, it's alright. Something about the way you look just got me feeling in the mood. So when you look at me with that smile, I smile too. I smile too. I smile too. I smile too. Swear you got that something that I need some more of. And I'm just trying to give you all these options. We could get that body moving, just keep dancing through the night. And then maybe we can do things when they turn off all the lights. Yeah, your touch is so genuine and scares those ghosts we left behind. And I know you can keep me away. See, every day I've tried my best to find some kind of happiness, and I feel like I found my way. Cause every day I see the world in your eyes. I know every little thing is alright. But something about the way you look just got me feeling in the mood. So when you look at me with that smile, I smile too. I smile too. I smile too. I smile too. Get that body moving, just keep dancing through the night. And then maybe we can do things when they turn off all the lights. Cause every day I've tried my best to find some kind of happiness, and I feel like I found my way. Cause every day I see the world in your eyes. I know every little thing, it's alright. But something about the way you look just got me feeling in the mood. So when you look at me with that smile, I smile too. I smile too. I smile too. Yeah, I love it. I smile too.